Hi, welcome. Thank you for watching. I think the last video on the carriage makers plane I got 840 views, which is great, so really pleased with that. That's great, thank you. And if you've subscribed, then you know what's going on with these videos. This is a little bit different, and the reason this is a bit different is I've come for a walk to actually do this intro to the video, and there's a reason for that. The first thing is it's a video that it's part of woodworking that people don't really film. They don't really put much up on it about it. They don't share the information. It's one of those that experience and practice and having a go develops. And that's using sash clamps. That's cramping something up. Generally on videos they skip over this really fast, and I'm a bit disappointed that they do. But Paul Sellers has just done a video on sash clamps, and it came out this morning or yesterday, and I just thought, oh, perfect timing. So there's a car coming, hang on. There you go, it's just gone. But it is also about patience, and as we go into this 21st century, we are getting less and less patient. And yet, if you want to be a woodworker, if you want an understanding of woodworking, you actually need to be more patient than ever, especially when it's cramping things up. Because there's orders of things. There's an order, and sometimes that order might change in a split second. It might change how you do something or what's going on. I've edited this video down so much that I've spent about 4.5, 5 hours already editing. So anyway, if you can do the super thanks, that helps. But I've edited it down so that the areas that aren't important I'm skipping through, but the areas that are important, the little, I mean, like there's one part, I'll tell you now, there's one part where I'm putting the last cramp on, and then I go over all the other cramp handles to make sure they're all at the same tension. When you're cramping things up, that to me is one of the most important things, that all the cramp handles are turned to the same sort of torque. That means you've got an even pressure then on the joints, and especially on this is an old door being repaired because the timber had come off, and you'll see why. It is an interesting video, and if you've stayed with me so far, that's brilliant, well done. Grab yourself a cup of tea, take time, be patient, because I have to be patient in the things I do. But then the problem for me is these jobs that should be quick and easy, I can't just film them and put them out there because nobody watches paint dry. It's a little bit more interesting than paint dry. So anyhow, I hope you enjoy it. Stick with me. If you do decide to turn away, just tell me the time when you're turning away. Just say, I had enough by 3 minutes, such and such. Okay, well, that's fine. But actually, it tells me a lot more about you than it does about my editing. So think about it. Let's stick with it. Woodworking is important. It will forever be important. And it's just something that gives so much. There you go. Gives so much to people in the things they sit on, in the hobbies, in things that you cook with, all sorts. Woodworking is throughout our lives. So I hope you enjoy the video. I'm sorry the intro is long, but I wanted to tell you that. So don't forget, Paul Sellers has just done this video on sash clamps. Is worth watching because he stiffens these sash clamps up. But I'd rather you watch mine, and I'd rather you share, comment, all the rest on mine, because I'm still trying to get somewhere. So enjoy. It is a good one. Hi, welcome back. Thank you for joining. If you're new to the channel, then thank you. Just want to show you what's going on in the workshop. Beard only just fits in the shot. Anyhow, let me show you what's going on. I've had this door brought in for me to have a look at. It's got a problem. I've knocked it off further. This was tight, that end was tight, and we've got a gap here of about 4 mil, maybe 5 mil, maybe 6 mil. Anyhow, the fix. the fix for something like this is I've knocked it further off, as you can see, and now I can get to see some of the dowels. And some of these, look, somebody's tried to grip that with something, and there. Animal glue. So we can see traces of animal glue here, and actually not very much. I've trimmed some off. There's more there, but I'm just going through it now. I've trimmed a lot of paint off there. There was no glue on any of that, and the dowels come out quite easy. I just think it was starved of glue. I think it was just thrown together, and I think paint's held it together, and then because it's been stripped down, the paint isn't held it together, central heating, all of those things, it's had a chance to move. But it's got another problem. It's got quite a warp problem. It's going up in the middle and down this end, so I'm going to try and, in amongst or gluing all this back up in a bit, I'm going to try and get rid of that problem and just see if I can make it a bit easier. Nice big dowels, so no mortise and tenons, which is a shame. Little repair here to do, so I'll try and fix that. There's a nail in there, I can see it. Glue, cramp, okay. I've got to scrape some more of this paint away from inside the joint so that the glue can hold on those flat surfaces there to these flat surfaces going in the opposite direction, but basically straight grain to straight grain. Yeah, let's see if we can make this work, see if I can get this done quite quickly. As I say, I've gone in here and cleaned off some of the joints, so the next thing for me to do is flip it over and show you what I did the other side. So what I'm doing is I'm cleaning off this glue here. So it's this glue that's it's been sort of holding it together, and it's got to come off because it's actually stopping the door going back together. So I'll clean that off. And the important bit really as well is inside here. As I say, look at that down there. There you go. Prime example. Look at that down there. That's got to come off. So what I do to get rid of that is get the chisel in, bevel side, where's my chisel? Bevel side down, put it in and scrape it like that. Use the tenon or part of the frame to lever against. And then, can you see that bit there? There you go, watch this, watch this. Nice sharp chisel. Get in there. And there you go. What you're looking at there now is new wood. That's not white there now, that's wood. So I've got to get in all amongst this. There's a bit of animal glue there, look. I'll get in there, I'll do this and I'll come back to you. The second side. Chiselling the paint off, chiselling glue off. As I say, there's not much glue. There's probably only 5% of glue holding this together. So I'm amazed it stayed together so long. It did really well. But it's about getting rid of all that paint from around the joint and getting in there with the chisel, scraping it away to expose new fibres that can be glued to the moulding on the stile. The stile is the side piece. The veils are the ones going across. The stiles are the long pieces. Right, so we can see what's going on now. All the glue taken off. There's a little bit of animal glue there. I'm going to leave some of the glue on because there really isn't much in there. It's not going to make any difference to the joint. It'll just be a little bit stronger. But these dowels are very substantial. They're good dowels. So clean around there. Look, it's clean around here. It's clean in there. That's what I'm after. Right, time to glue it up. I'll get the sash clamps on first. Sash clamps are over there. Let's get the sash clamps on. Let's set it up. Let's see what it looks like. Dry fit it. And then if it all goes all right, then I'll knock it apart, put some glue on it, leave it overnight. So that's one of my sacrificial pieces. It's as long as the door is, and this is so that there's no impression of the clamp head left in the side, in the stile of the door. And as I clamp this up, I'm looking at what's going on either side, because the ends, top and bottom, are going in before the middle because there's so much bow on this timber. So I'm looking and listening and checking what's going on. That one, click, there you go. And then on to the next clamp. Again, you'll hear this creak. And I've got to say, what's going on here is on the side of the stile, this joint is created from a male moulding on the side of the stile, and then on the end of each rail there is a female of the joint, so the two lock together, and then there's a groove down the middle of the stile that the panels slot into. So it all fits really well. It's well machined, it's well made. And I just have to keep an eye on the joints at the end of the rail to the stile to make sure that they marry up. When I know they're closing in, and as soon as they're touching, that's it, that's great. But then I just apply a little bit more pressure so that there's more compression, and that will hold better later. It really is one of those senses. It's eyes, ears, how things feel. You're keeping an eye on it, you're listening for things that you want to happen but don't want to happen. But also when you're turning the tommy bar on the cramp, you can feel it suddenly go easy if it just pulls in a bit quick, which is quite nice. So yeah, I don't do this with many people around. I like to do it in private so I can focus fully on it. And sometimes when I'm helping the guys make things, I sort of explain what I'm doing, and I have to do what I'm doing now, which is voiceover for this, but I have to do it with the guys and tell them why I'm doing certain things, why I'm doing this, why I'm doing that. That's it. Cramps on each rail, all dry fitted. It's pulled up a treat, let me show you. It's pulled up tight. Each joint wasn't tight. This shoulder was 3 or 4 mil off, and there were gaps in the panels. But now I've cleaned all the muck off. Each joint, look how tight that is. It's been here before. It knows what it's doing. It was the paint that was stopping it going back. That needs trimming off a bit. And it looks good. I'll turn it over. We'll have a look at the other side. A bit heavy, but I'll turn it over. Right. Joints are looking really nice this side. Exceptional. Look at that, all beautifully lined up. That one's got a little bit of a gap, but I think I took a bit too much paint off that. And this one's good. Okay, knock it apart, glue it up. And turn it back over before I can do that. Do you want to see the spring back? I'll show you the spring back. So look, I've just taken the clamps off, and this is the spring back we've got with this piece of wood. So it really doesn't want to hold on. That is 1/4 inch, 6 mil. 6 mil. And that poor piece of wood is not happy, this one. So yeah, it just wants to curve out, it wants to curve over. But I will put some spots of glue on the panels, I think, see if I can get the panels to help. Just the occasional panel, occasional piece. It looks like it's plywood. It is plywood, so it's not going to get any drier or any damper than it is, and the glue will help. So let's see what we can do. Let's start knocking it apart and then gluing it back up. If you're still with me at this point, well done, thank you. I just want to say, like, subscribe, all the rest. But whoever put this rail on was no real cowboy. They did a good job. If you're going to put a bowed timber on, they've done it exactly the way. So it's a professionally made door. The reason I say that is because that hollow in the middle is less likely to come away than if it had been the other way around and you'd have made the middle tight and the two ends come away. because one of them could ping away and then the other could ping away and then the middle would fall off. So actually they've done it the right way. Right, I'm going to put a H on there to show it's hollow. What I'm doing here is I'm writing an instruction that it's hollow on that side and weight on the other. The reason I'm doing that is so that when it's all cramped up, I don't have to think about which way round it is. I've given myself an instruction to make sure I put some weight on the ends and it's hollow this side. So that's what that is. There's hardly any glue on this at all. It's really naughty. And here we go, plenty of glue without wasting lots of glue. There's no point in wasting it. And just there, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little dabs, and those little dabs are just to catch those plywood panels so that they help hold and it stops them from moving as well. So yeah, this joint is called a match joint, where the match cutters are a pair of different cutters, the male and female, that do the ends of the rail and the stile. So yeah, they're called matched. And I'm just making sure that there's glue in amongst all of that. There is a tenon in the middle of the, it's only a small one, there is a tenon in the middle of the rails that go into the stile. Only about 1/2 inch deep, but it's good. It's very good. With all of the glue on the stile, I'm now putting a bead of glue on top of the dowels, and I'm sorry I can't move the camera around to show you guys what's going on, but there's a bead on the top of the dowel which I will put on top of each one. It'll slowly run around, but I'll also get to it with my finger. You'll see me regretting this in a little bit, but anyhow, the finger goes around the dowel and it just makes sure there's a good even spread of glue all the way around that dowel, because the dowels were glued into the rails incredibly well, but they all came out the stile. So it must have been a bit of a bad afternoon when they put this together, because there just wasn't enough glue on it. Now comes the fun and games. You'll enjoy this. That's how far out it is, look. It's not a happy door. Not happy at all. Okay, so the penny's dropped and I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a cramp on here. Because it's bowed, knock one end in, the other end comes out. Go to the other end, knock that in, the far end comes out. So I need an extra pair of hands. I haven't got an extra pair of hands, but I can put a sash clamp on this end and then start pulling the joints together, knowing that that end can't come out now because the clamp's got it. So here's my sacrificial piece, but it's got a problem, and that's why I'm picking shavings up. Some of the glue has dripped off the dowels onto the face of this, and I don't want to glue this sacrificial piece onto the edge of the door. So let's get rid of the dust, and now I can use that as I did in the dry fit. But it does get fiddly. One pair of hands. So the joints are pulling up now. And just look, here's the thing I mentioned at the beginning. It's that just checking each joint, each tommy bar, the same sort of pressure. And I've still got one clamp to go. And I've got to say, it isn't tightening up every time. Sometimes you take the pressure off and then put it back on again. Undo it a little bit, release it, pull it back on again. Yeah, you've got to be mindful of how you do it. It's not just overpressure, overpressure. Now I'm putting a piece of wood underneath because that's where I put that instruction. And basically what I'm going to do is add weight to the ends. And that bit of weight isn't making enough difference. So I'm looking down the edge and seeing that that's really not heavy enough. So I have another thought. These block pavers are about a kilo each. Whereas these buckets are more like 25, maybe 30 kilos each. Might be a bit more than that. But yeah, put some weight on, let it go off in a good place. It's looking good. There's about 30 kilo on each corner, so I wrote on there hollow. I'm going to leave the glue. I'll leave it till tomorrow. There's about 30 kilos on each end. And looking down the cramps, so viewing the cramps down here all in a line, it's going down each end, which is good because it's going to want to spring back. So for overnight, it can be left like this. It will spring back, but it will be better than it would have been if I'd have just left it and left the wood to its own devices. So there you go, that's done. Put up all the times, it's not taking too long, and we'll have a look at it tomorrow. So it's the next morning and you're thinking I'm just going to take the weights off, take the clamps off, and that's it. It's not as simple as that. I'm listening to what's going on with the joints, with the glue, with the timber. Undo the cramps, listen to how it separates. Just keep being aware of what's going on, especially now, because there you go, it's got to happen. So I can put these timbers away, don't need those anymore. Having a look at the split on the corner, and I'm going to need that in the next clip. You could say I could just put a chisel or a screwdriver in the end and pull it away, but actually just hitting it with a hammer means that it's pulling away exactly where it wants to pull away, rather than me splitting it. This is a coffee stir stick that you get from the cafes. Always keep those. If they've been used, give it a wash out with some boiling water. Keep them, they are so useful. And I'm pushing the glue as far into this joint as possible. I've not split this right off the side of the door, there's no point. It's just split where it is. There are a couple of nails in there as well, and I'm not touching those nails at all. It needs to be clamped under pressure with a very good glue, which is what this is. So that's done. And there's a couple of things here, a couple of tips here that I like. First of all, I like to sit the clamps on pads, like that little packing piece there. So that's useful. It means that they're parallel and it keeps them away from the woodwork, so you can see the joints, stops the glue going on it. But the other thing here is that piece of wood I've put on the end there, it's got some varnish on it. And because it's varnished, there's remains of some stickers on there as well. Because it's varnished, it's not going to stick to the glue. So there's another tip. That saves trying to peel the thing off the next day. This is one of my habits. I wipe the excess glue just onto the edge of the bench, which I shouldn't do. 10 minutes into 17.5 seconds now, because I'm taking all the excess glue off. The glue from around the joints, chiseling it away, cleaning it all up, removing all the traces of glue, and then following over with the cabinet scraper to remove any from the surface. Almost there now. Remove that, as you can see, came off really easy. Going over with the cabinet scraper just to remove, again, to remove excess glue. It's looking quite tidy. A couple of bits there that need to come off. That's nearly it now. This door is going to get sanded down before it gets painted, so it's looking good. Job done. That's it. Show you down the joints. All glued back together. Bit of glue in the hole there. All nice and flush now. I don't think the weight has made any difference to it at all. If it has, it's not much. I suppose the thing to do is push it on the bench and see what the middle looks like. Now, tight on that end, tight on this end, and in the middle 9mm, maybe 10 millimeters. So yeah, 12mm over, probably half an inch out. I think that might be a bit better than it was. Anyhow, it's done. Hi, I hope you enjoyed that video. It's got a door done, it's finished, I'm happy with it. Claire will be happy with it, which is great. If you find any of this of any use, or you appreciate what I do, then the super thanks is just below the video, and you can buy me a coffee, which would be wonderful. And I'll see you on the next video, which I think is about not quite sure yet. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I'll catch you soon. Cheers.